Hey everyone, this is Olay from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast.
Anyway, all right, folks. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Welcome all to another hot and fresh episode of EduSteps, powered by Laddering Your Success. As always, I am your host, Olay here with my good friend, Festus and Olay. Festus, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Just, all things considered, man, I'm doing very, very well.
I had to be very careful with that intro. I was like hot and fresh. I was about to say out the kitchen. I don't want any. Yeah, I don't want to pull anything from, the Robert Kelly situation and all that over there. You know what I mean? That's an R. Kelly lyric.
What you said? Oh, what is that? What's the lyric?
Hot and fresh. Remix to Ignition, hot and fresh.
Oh,
I don't want to pull any of that in there. You know what I mean?
Old school for our audience, I think.
Old school, yeah. It really is.
It depends.
I keep forgetting. Anyway, got my good friend Jamar Crawford with us. How you doing today?
Happy to be here with you guys. Thank y'all for having me.
Awesome. Can't have one without the other. Got my other good friend. That guy.
Salttastic.
Oh my God, you gotta do it every week. Daniel Hill, how you doing today, my good sir?
Good, and yourself, my guy?
I'm doing well. I'm doing better than I deserve. All right.
That part.
All right, better than I deserve. All right. So today is part two. Part two of what? Part two of what we talked about last week, which was building positive relationships. Essentially, we're talking about mentoring, right? So let's go a little bit over what we talked about last week. Last week, we talked about some studies and the power of having mentors or people who can help and guide you, right? Academic success. We talked about the benefits. Basically, you can get a higher GPA if you have a mentor or someone helping you. You are 70% more likely to enroll in college and 55% more likely to graduate if you have these people around you. Reduce risk factors. Having a mentor can reduce the risk of negative behaviors like substance abuse, delinquency, and depression in vulnerable youth. And lastly, increase positive outcomes. Studies show that those who had a mentor during adolescence were more likely to hold professional jobs, own their own homes, and have higher levels of educational attainment as adults, right? Festus went into the foundations or the early beginnings of mentorings and how they kind of started. And then we started to delve in a little bit more, talk about how these things affect a lot of students who may get forgotten about, right? We're talking about some first generation students. So we talked about the lack of familiarity with college culture and how to navigate the growing push for students to go into college, or the growing push for first generation students to want to go into college and how to navigate it, right? We don't want kids coming out of college. I got my degree. Oh, I have $150,000 worth of debt. Right. And your job's going to be paying you, 55, 45 to start with. The math just isn't mathing right? Limited personal networks may lack connections to professionals in that field that you're trying to get into, right? I talked a little bit about that with the career clusters and things like that. Financial constraints that first generation students may have. Familial expectations and responsibilities, right? Some of these same things go hand in hand with minority students. Underrepresentation in professional goals. In professional roles. Students may struggle to find mentors who share their racial or ethnic identity or understand their cultural experiences. We kind of delve into that a little bit more, talking about, do you necessarily need to see someone who looks like you or can exactly relate to you if they don't share the same racial and ethnic background as you? Talked a little bit about my experience in teaching bilingual students, and how that kind of, some of the experiences and working in that, and kind of went a little bit further into those aspects. Microaggression and bias. You may experience discrimination or unconscious bias from potential mentors. This is real. Festus gave some really good examples. Crawford and Hill expounded on that. Really, really good stuff we talked about there. And navigating stereotypes and assumptions. You may need a mentor who can advocate for your abilities and challenge limiting perceptions, right? That's a big thing, is having someone challenge you. That's a real big thing that I notice with students today, is needing someone to challenge you. Why? Well, when we were growing up, 1, 2, 3, 4, We all grew up around the same time. I can easily say that we all graduated from high school within 4 years of each other. So we're all pretty much in the same, bracket, if you will. We didn't have access to the TikToks, to the Google, to the extent that it is today, to the Yahoo. Granted, we did have Netscape. I still remember in 5th grade, we typed in playboy.com. Oh my gosh, kind of thing that we did, back then. But these kids can go further and go deeper into the rabbit hole and get their heads messed up, But at the same time, there is so much more access to credible knowledge, factual information that students can take in. But guess what they don't have? They don't have the real life experience or application of these things. You can know a lot of things, but what happens when you actually try to apply these things? This is where guidance, mentors, folks who have experience can come in to help you really understand the nitty-gritty, to really help you understand how does this apply to your life today. You got kids who know a lot about history, but they don't understand that the history they know about is actually being repeated today, right? And how did we solve those things? What led to those things happening? That is why, I don't know if it's a guy thing, but, I used to hear a lot of girls say, like, I remember lots of girls saying, why is history always the favorite subject of a lot of guys? And I always have to let them know, hey, because it's his story. You know what I mean? It's his, no, I'm just kidding. I never said that.
Chill out, bro.
I never said that. But I just thought about it as I was going. But go ahead, Festus, yeah.
No, I was going to say, I think on that note that you were talking about of like experience versus reality, I seen a clip today, the very, very sad clip of a YouTuber who, basically was known YouTuber, and basically the YouTuber wanted to see if it's true that a book can stop a bullet, right? And so anyway, so instead of just experimenting with shooting the book by itself, he put the book in front of himself and had his baby mama pull the trigger while while their daughter watched, and basically was killed. And so she was sentenced to prison. And it's sad because, that unfortunately that's kind of the thing about, like, when people see stuff and they try to apply it, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, and I'm not trying to make light of that situation at all. I think it's a very serious situation. But I think that's kind of the stuff that happens when people have knowledge and they think, oh man, I could just apply whatever knowledge I have without experience and expertise. And so, maybe he's seen it on a movie. I don't know what would make him try to do that kind of experiment. You know what I'm saying? But I think this kind of is something that might ring true, to a wider audience, because, when you watch stuff online, you see stuff on social media, a lot of times it could be edited. A lot of times it could be fictitious, and people don't know what's true or not. And so this is where having caring guidance, caring mentorship plays a big part. You know what I'm saying? Is, hey, if we have caring mentorship, that person can tell you, hey, yo, I think that's a bad idea. And I think the other big part about it is having somebody to open up to, you know what I'm saying? To just be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing such and such. You know what I'm saying? And maybe he'd be alive today, you know what I'm saying? But the part that, and you go in the comment section, but you know what I'm saying, the part that was really sad was that this guy tried that with a 50 caliber round. And so had it been a 22 caliber or something like that, quite possibly he could have survived. Even a 9mm, quite possibly he could have survived. But unfortunately, he chose one of the biggest rounds that you can choose, one of the most powerful bullets that you could choose. And unfortunately, and took his own life, or had his life taken from his own mistake. And I think that just applies in so many areas where, we think, man, I'm gonna go it alone. I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna try to be self-made, and not opening up to people about it. our struggles, our ideas, our processes, and really, I think the big thing is getting expert advice. So sorry to make it so serious so soon.
No worries. I think that's part of that is the consequence, right, of not having that. And I think you bring up some really good points. I'm going to open it up for Crawford or Hill if you have anything you want to say, because I was taking some notes as you were talking there, Fist. It's a really good point.
Nah, I don't have I don't have anything to add to that. The story that Festus just kind of shared. I mean, he explained how unfortunate their situation is and having the guidance or important of having the guidance of a mentor to possibly, influence the youth. And I think that right there is just a tragic story of a youthful person trying to come up with creative content, to give viewers to watch. And unfortunately, that situation took place the way it did. So I think Festus hit on all the important points on that situation.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Olay. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that even though the cost of college can be daunting, the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook can assist you in realizing your dreams. You can identify and apply for scholarships using the information, advice, and resources in our comprehensive guide. Also, we've provided a template for a successful scholarship essay to help you stand out from the crowd. Don't allow student loan debt to control you. Get your copy of the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook right away to take charge of your destiny. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to that fire conversation.
Same, bro. Nah, same way, man. It's just sad, bro. Yeah. Especially since his little child was there watching, right? Is that what he said? The kid?
Yeah.
Was it like a baby, or was it like a kid that will remember forever?
This is the sadder part. I try to leave this part out because of how sad it is. His girlfriend / baby mama was pregnant at the time, and the child that was there watching was 3 years old. So basically, he would have been a father too, and so basically the child watched her mother kill her father.
Anything about the? Sorry.
Not only that, it's like that's an example of people not really thinking about the consequences of the decisions that they make, because not only was his life taken, but now his family is split for God knows how long. So that's a consequence. Maybe I'm pretty sure they weren't thinking like, hey, I'm gonna die, or whatever the case may be. But now the mom and the siblings are split apart for however long, and we don't even know if the siblings would, if they go into foster care or whatever, if they're together or not.
Yeah, and I think that's a very powerful point. About there was a scripture I shared with somebody the other day, and it hit me when I was talking to them. But it's something Jesus said, basically, wisdom is proved right by her children. And obviously wisdom is the Greek term for it is Sophia, right? And we got the philos, pretty much kind of brotherly love, but the whole point of wisdom being proved right by her children is, and I couldn't quite understand that, but it was like, basically, every decision we make takes on a life of its own. And all those different, basically, reactions or all those different consequences stem from like that one decision. And I think we can all look back when we're older and we say, man, I'm glad I did that thing because it had all of these ramifications, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, like Crawford was saying, in this situation, that one thing has a bunch of negative consequences, so yeah.
And so I think that's a wonderful thing to kind of start off with. A couple of weeks ago, me and Festus were hanging out, and I mentioned a previous call or mentor call that we had where we talked about generations. And we talked about the different generations, right? So we talked, and it was basically within the last 100 years, pretty much. So yeah, this is 24. So this is right around the time of the silent generation. And then we had the silent generation, we had baby boomers, we had Gen X, if you're around 25 to 40, say 25 to 45, you're probably a millennial, or 25 to 40, you're probably a millennial. And one thing I've noticed with a lot of millennials is we are very dismissive of the generations that come after us. So the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha, because of a lot of things that are more prevalent now that weren't prevalent when we were. And I think because of a lot of the things that we were exposed to growing up, you know, and it's not necessarily dismissive of like, I don't like y'all. It's just, man, I ain't got time for it. So millennials are very like, nah, man, I ain't got time for it. I ain't got no time for that. You know what I mean? Leave me alone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't trying to mess with it. When in reality, of all the generations, we should be the most open to, because if anyone could understand where they're coming from, it's probably going to be the one that you're closest to, and that's us. And so we should probably be on the forefront of like creating these bridges to be able to connect and talk with them. That's why this topic of mentorship is so important right now, of us being going out there and talking to a lot of these, to a lot of the folks. You know, it's so crazy. After I left church today, we were talking about, man, it was a really good sermon. The pastor was talking about being like Jesus, right? And so Jesus was out there with the sinners. One of the things that she said was helping us realize that, you know, we are all sinners. So she would say, and Hill, you remember, dogs bark, cats meow, golfers golf, sinners sin, right? And so, you know, that was the thing she was saying. And so I was talking with some of the guys, some really awesome guys after service, and he was talking about one of his family members who's gay, and how she's just gone through some things, and, you know, she's trying to go to the church, and, you know, people have told her in the church that, you know, because of your lifestyle, you shouldn't come into the church. And so he took that as an opportunity to kind of minister to her and let her know that, hey, it doesn't, you know, I'm sorry that you experienced that with these other churches, but I'm here to let you know that that's not how this works. It doesn't matter who you are, because I'm no different. And then he kind of went in and told her about his sin and the things he'd been through. And, you know, just to let that create that bridge and say, hey, if you ever need to talk about this, talk about that, I'm here for you. And so that's exactly what I'm seeing. That's exactly what I'm noticing. You know, we think of mentorship like, hey, let's go fishing. I'll teach you about life. This is how you put a worm on a hook. For some people, that's what works for them. But sometimes it's just a little conversation of, hey, I know what you're going through, or I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here for you. This is how we can, you know, do this is how I can help in any way if you need me to. Right. And let me open it up. Anyone have did that spark something in anyone? Did that help y'all, remind y'all about anything or anything? Because if not, I can keep going.
No, go ahead.
All right, cool. So when I was in high school, man, in high school and into college, when I say this is not going to surprise anyone who listens to this, who knows me personally. When I was in high school and in college, I asked some of the dumbest questions ever. I really did. I asked some of the dumbest questions ever. And this is why I love teachers so much. Whenever, you know how when people say, there's no such thing as a dumb question. You remember that? You have a teacher on the first, no such thing as a dumb question. Come talk to me. I was always a student like, we'll see about that. We'll see. This is just the first day. I haven't reached my full form yet. I haven't hit over 9,000. You haven't seen me hit my full form. And I remember asking questions and professors and teachers just going, what? What? Did you, in my class, did you really just? But I just had a very unique way of seeing the world. And sometimes I knew things, but I wanted to ask a question in a particular way to get a deeper understanding or to get a different perspective. You know, that's just the way I was and am. And so I'm very fortunate to have had teachers and professors who were patient and were like, all right, you know, before I judge, or before I never answer another question from this young fool, let me see what's really going on, right? And so that kind of leads me to what I want to get into next, which is some of the other things that students may deal with. That being mental health and well-being. A lot of times we may have some marginalized students who are more likely to face mental health challenges or issues. This may require mentors who are sensitive to these needs and can provide appropriate support. And so I think a lot about special needs. Well, you got special needs kids, and then you have like students who just have like, mental health issues. This is why mentors are so important. You got some people who are incredibly patient. I think the second to my last year teaching, I had a student who was nonverbal autistic, and because of the laws in the state, he had to be in my classroom for like 60 days. It was some number of days. I can't remember exactly. That was the toughest period of teaching for me, by far. It just,
What do you think made it so tough on you?
Well, I was teaching bilingual. He spoke Spanish, or he heard Spanish, so I really didn't. There was already a language barrier there, right?
Yeah.
He was nonverbal, so he did learn some language, some sign language. They did try to teach him some sign language. We tried to create as open an environment as we could. And I tried, I got some crayons, and the crayons I got were pretty tough. They were like pretty strong crayons.
Yeah.
My guy destroyed those crayons within like 2 days. Like the jumbo thick crayons.
Thick crayons,
thick crayons, yeah, man. He destroyed them things.
Yeah.
And so I came back. It looked like a art class, like by the desk.
Probably like really tactile, where he needed to press harder,
Yeah, definitely, yeah, absolutely. He scratched me up pretty good. Just it was just a lot. Yelled a lot in class, did a lot of things in class, and so clearly I'm like, he needs someone to be with him, because you got to teach a whole group of students.
Yeah,
and he's creating all this. He's disturbing the class. Not to his own fault. He's just not in the environment that's conducive for him. A funny story. I still remember one day I was teaching, and in the middle of the lesson, my guy goes,
"Oh, he did the Harry Potter."
Singing the theme to Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching, and I'm like, "Did this guy just sing the theme to Harry Potter?" And then he was like, "Yeah." All the students are like, Harry Potter, Harry Potter, yeah. I'm like, okay, relax. Like, y'all still can't add. You know what I mean? but that goes to the point. And man, shout out to sped teachers, special education teachers. Y'all, man, there's gonna be a special place in heaven for y'all, because they're so patient, and they deal with so much. A lot of them have so few resources, and are still able to create such dynamic and helpful scenarios and really help these kids out. Festus, I know you want to say something.
Yeah, because now again, I didn't do middle school or high school, because I know that's a whole different ball game. But even in elementary life skills, we had some challenges, and I could see how those challenges, if those kids got bigger, would be much more difficult to handle. And I'll tell a quick story as it relates to this and kind of tie it into mentoring. But I had a student who used to throw tantrums in life skills. And basically, he would flip and destroy the whole entire class. So this is basically my second day at work, right? And I'm straight out of the Army. And so this dude destroyed the whole entire class. And I'm looking around like, what in the world is going on here? And so in that class, we had the sped teacher, the lead life skill teacher, and then we had myself and one other aide. And it's funny, because the aide she was an older Black woman, the para, and she said this at that time, and I didn't even realize what she meant, but she goes, "We got a man in here now. It ain't gonna fly." and so no, that was actually, I think that was my first day at work. So the next day he comes back and tries the same thing. Oh man, I flipped out. I flipped out. And so I was like, oh, you want to throw stuff? Man, I start flipping tables and I'm like, so I go straight drill sergeant on this kid. And so as I'm going straight drill sergeant on this kid, because again, this is what happens when you hire people who have no training, right? I had no training to work with kids. They just said, hey, this is a guy and he's disciplined. He could get in here with these kids. So anyway, allegedly. So
allegedly.
After flipping the room up and down, the sped teacher just walked out, just like walked out. And again, older Black woman, I told you, we got a man in here now. We got a man in here now. So, and again, I'm probably 20 something, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just not having it. So I got my boy in the corner, allegedly, in the front leaning rest, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm roasting this guy in the corner and he's like, yo, I'm gonna call my mom. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna call her too. And he's like, whoa, hey. So that was my thing. Anytime a kid, oh, I'm gonna call my mom. Let's do it. Whose story she gonna take it? Yours or mine? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, roasted this kid thoroughly in the corner, had a nice little sweat pile, made him clean up the room. But this ended up turning into a mentorship relationship. And so I had to get things, some documentation signed by the school and by his mom that I could mentor him outside of school. And so I would actually, we go to the movies together. I remember this one time I brought him over to my place, was baking cookies, and he's like, this is for girls. I'm like, but if you want cookies, you need to learn how to make your own cookies. You know what I'm saying? And this was the interesting thing, again, just mentorship relationship. As we fast forward, he actually went on a date with me. You know what I'm saying? And so the young woman is like, who's this kid? You know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, this is my mentee. You know what I'm saying? So we eating sushi with the chopsticks or whatever. And it was more like a date type thing. And so, he's asking me all these questions about life and about manhood because he was supposed to be, he was supposed to function in society one day. And so you could imagine if this kid who's throwing tantrums, who doesn't have a father figure, male role model around, is doing that same type of thing in regular society. Well, I think he was in the 3rd grade when this initially took place and happened. And then by the time he was in 4th grade, he was a much calmer kid. And he even helped with some of the other students in life skills about just different types of behavior and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I think the hard part is, people who do mentorship aren't going to be able to build that kind of relationship with every student. You know what I mean? And it takes a lot. It takes a lot. There was times, I'm going to pick this guy up on my own dime, my own time. You know what I mean? So we could spend time together. And I'm grateful that his mom was open and willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? But again, the school, like I said, I had to get a letter signed that this had nothing to do with school. This has nothing to do with anything. You know what I'm saying? Just that's an outside of school thing. And so, I do wish more people would do that, but I also want to kind of put a bug in students' ears and parents' ears that might not happen for your child. So let's say there's an after school program. I know you guys started one for young men where it might be, 2 or 3 male teachers on 20 young guys at the school. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of those opportunities. And what do I mean by taking advantage of them? Not take advantage of the people, but support the opportunities that's there. So don't think, oh, these guys, they're going to become basically surrogate dads for my young man, right? That's not what those groups are about. If teachers are willing to, on their own time and on their own dime, support your student in terms of mentorship, the least you could do is say, can I buy juice for the group? Can I buy chips for the group? Can I do something for the group? Can I come in and spend some time with the group? Can I come in and learn from the group, right? Because in this day and age, with the challenges that we face, I don't think it's going to be resolved purely by one-on-one mentorship, because I think the problem is much bigger than that. And if you are a young person, let's say you're in high school or college or middle school, and you're listening to this, if you have somebody who's willing to be your mentor, you have to step up and take some responsibility and accountability in that relationship, meaning doing check-ins with them, meaning how can you help and assist them? How can you help and assist make that mentorship relationship easier on them, right? Because if somebody's taking their time and their money to invest in you, you need to step up as well.
Hey LYS fam, it's Olay. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show because you know it's some good topics.
One thing that I really dislike, I'm a big Eric Thomas fan. Shout out to ET, his whole team. I love the work that they're doing. But if somebody has to come and yell at you to be successful, that means you're purposely trying to fail. If people have to yell at you to tell you to quote unquote wake you up so that you could be successful, why are you so bent on failing? And if you're bent on failing, your failure is nobody's fault but your own. So I'll cap it right there and want to definitely open it up to the other fellow.
I actually like that, man, that part, the end part you said, because somebody told me a long time ago, I didn't know what he said, because at first it sounded funny. He said there's really no victims. And I was like, that makes no sense. But then he was like, but then I guess he was not saying like other stuff like, but in life, when you're doing stuff, you always have a choice if you're going to do it or not do it. But you blame other people, blame other this and that. At first, when he said, I was like, bro, there's all type of victims out the world. But he was talking about when you doing, say, if you know you want to do something and you might get scammed doing it, right? But you had the opportunity to learn it yourself instead of trying to have somebody else do it. You know what I'm saying? You're not a victim. Like, so if I, like kind of Festus, I said, like when we in class, like if I got to yell at you to make you see, like, bro, I'm not going to force you to do it. Like, there's no point in me forcing you to do it, because next year you're gonna do the same thing. When we get older, if somebody gotta always make you do it, that means you really don't want it. Pretty much, that's the way I see it.
100%.
Yeah. So one thing I got from that was really profound was breaking down that barrier. Breaking down the barrier. I think it's a funny thing, but it's also a very powerful thing that the one teacher almost said the overarching theme of the entire story that you said. It's not going to be the same. There's a man around now. So it's almost like, and you always hear about this, right? Oh, we need positive male role models in the schools. We need positive male role models in the school. We need it. 90-some odd % of the teachers are female, and the majority of our young people don't have a positive male role model at home. So we need a positive male role model. And so she comes in, and when she sees you, she's like, "Can't do the same thing now. There's a man in here." And it just goes to show you how the same things that he was able to get away with when there probably was a woman in the classroom, now you have a man, and it's almost like the code is being taught to him, right? It's like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay. Let me meet you at where you are, and then we're gonna break down that barrier, and we're gonna rebuild the house, right? All right. The first pig's house was made out of sticks. I'm gonna show you how to build one with the bricks. He didn't blow down the one with the bricks, right?
No. I mean, I think, and I think that's a very powerful thing you're talking about is standards, right? Something we always talk about in being, knowing, doing, value, character, values, and principles. Principles can give standards to our lives. So for example, a very simple one is you only fail when you give up. That's it sounds so simple. It sounds so simple. But if you think about it as a standard, that means you're going to keep on giving effort, and you might have to give effort or try something in a different way to look for that same result. Whereas some people, that little thing that, you know, you only fail when you give up, they could, you know, just by not having that standard, it can make a world of difference in their lives. And so again, in that situation, I think maybe I gave some positive reinforcement towards self-control, you know, allegedly.
Of course, allegedly. So, you know, you reminded me of something my first year of teaching. I told this story several times. I love it because it relates to this, and it, you know, these stories, man, it's experience. The experience helps you grow so much. I will say there's nothing like your first year of teaching. I don't care where you're teaching. You know, all those sayings about like, oh, you're getting thrown out there in the fire, thrown out to the wolves, thrown in the lion's den. All of those things, they're all true when you talk about your first year of teaching. So I had a student, this student, he was almost my height. He was about my height. And he told me straight up from like the first couple of days, he was like, look, we're the same. We're on the same level. We're on the same level. You can't talk to me like you talk to them. Like, you're gonna have to talk to me like you would talk to another teacher or another person, another grown man. And I was like, what? How? This doesn't make any sense. You're 13. Like, how? But he was like, he was dead set on that. And so, man, he was like a Rubik's Cube to a 3-year-old. Like, he was just so wound. Like, I just couldn't figure. I was just like, man. But then as I slowly started to understand, and shout out to Mr. Butts, one of the teachers there and someone who grew to be my mentor when I was teaching my first year, you know, he showed me how to lead by example with a student like that and just staying consistent. And so for me at that time, I was not that way. I didn't know the ways of the Jedi teacher, all that stuff. I was like, oh, that's how you're going to be? Well, when you come to my class, I don't know you, stay in the back. You don't talk to me, I don't talk to you. And so what I didn't realize is he just didn't have anyone to show him. He was that guy. He had to come up with his own code. And so you do have to stay consistent and kind of break down that barrier. And I remember, you know, I would stay up till like 2, 3 in the morning coming up with these lessons, doing all this stuff. And we're doing a lesson in class. We're going over the anticipatory set, we're breaking it down and all this stuff. And he's asking questions. He, you know, sitting in the back like this, and he's like, he didn't even raise his name. He was like, yeah, but how does it work like with that, and that? And I'm like, oh, well, it does this, and, you know, I'm breaking it down, and we're doing the experiment. And I didn't realize it, but he went from like this to like this to like this to like getting up and actually doing the thing. And I remember, like, I seen him working, and I wanted to be like, no, we the same. You already know this. Go sit down. But then I was like, wait. You know what I mean? And so that's what I had to see is when you abide by truth, right? When your values and your purpose are all aligned, those who are in agreement or those who see the truth in it, they're gonna naturally follow. I hate to give you the good news, but when you're aligned, they're gonna naturally follow. That's just what it is. And so that was just something that was really profound to me. Also, another thing that I thought about was that boys program that you mentioned, that we started, you know, and the fact that you talked a lot about the parents. And in your example, Festus, the parent giving permission for their child to be mentored. I think that's a really huge thing that we really got to talk about. Is the parent was the vehicle that started the journey, that allowed for that mentoring journey to start. And I was like, if I were to ever do a program like that again in a school, the one of the things that I would do is I would have a meeting with all the parents, or I would try to have a meeting with all the parents. Sorry, I would have a meeting with all the parents, and I would let them know exactly why we're doing this, but I would also let them know that this is not our responsibility. This is just something we are doing to help in addition to what's happening at home, right? You'd offer resources and, some things to kind of help. But I think if I did that, we probably have a lot less students that would come in, but I think our impact would be bigger. Because when I say we had this conversation, like I'll let them know the truth. I let them know that we're not their parents. It's not our job to parent. That's not why we're here. We're here to offer, we're here to help our students because we need them being their best when they come into class. We need y'all to create the environment at home to allow them to come to school and want to have that zeal to learn, right? Not saying it's not easy. I get it. It's not easy, but this is our current state of affairs. This is what it needs to be, right? Yeah, so just being aligned with your vision, your missions, and your values, right? I mean, that's just a huge thing. I'll open it up if anyone had anything to add to that before we start to close.
I
You
think
know what,
then,
that-
like,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, yeah.
No, go ahead, brother.
I feel like the mentoring thing is something that's like really important. That was something that I was really passionate about with mentoring, young men and kids, especially since I was one of those children who longed for that type of relationship as far as a father figure, mentor, and things of that nature. And I've seen firsthand the impact of that, just like Festus has with mentoring students and taking it outside of the classroom and building a real relationship and seeing the differences in their actions within the classroom. So I feel like that is like really, really important. I feel like the challenge is for me as an educator that was one instance to where that particular area was mixed from low SES, middle, and higher income. So it was a good mix. And so it was easy for me to take that one particular student and mentor them. And then where I'm at now, where most of the population is low SES, I see the need, and it's so difficult to try to meet that need because that need is in many different students, not just solely men, little girls as well, because of the lack of guidance at home. And it's like, I want to do what I can do to mentor them and help them. But at the same time, it's like, all right, man, it's too many. I can't build that rapport that I would love to build with each and every one of them with the lack of time where they definitely outnumbered me. And some of them do appreciate what I can do with the time that I have there. But I see the need is just so vast. And I feel as though not just men, but men and women that are educators seeing that, and we all taking the time to, mentor these students, we would definitely see a difference in the character, the morals, and the behavior within these walls once those kids see that, hey, we human and we are investing our time and effort into them. It definitely makes a difference. So
Yeah,
I
I was
think
gonna
that,
say.
oh, go ahead, Hill. I'm so sorry.
No, I was just thinking about. My bad, man. I'm just laughing how your mom calls you Mr. Sorry. What they say? Always Mr. Sorry. Always. My bad, threw me off when you said it. But no, I thought about like stuff like that when I was back in Tennessee. Like we could just do stuff with the kids. So when I was student teaching, before I was able to pick them up and we took them all skating and go get pizza. And the kids loved it, man. They come around, do stuff like that. And down here, I did it once. I didn't know about the laws, man. I thought it was like Tennessee. Man, I should, after Fest said he had to get paperwork, I was like, man, I didn't get no paperwork. I just picked the kid up. We went and did I went by his mama, holler at his mama, and I was there to pick him up and take him somewhere, but he was in 6th grade by then. But that was the time I was getting my house built. So I was able to take him out like one weekend, maybe 2. And next thing I knew, I moved all the way over to Jones Road. So after work, I couldn't wait. I had to go all the way, like the end. Remember when Jones Road was like, I think it was Jones Road, something would just go to a dead end. It was like way down there. So I would be way down here and then came back. He's like, man, what's up? But when I was able to take care of him and do stuff, man, it was cool. But one thing I was going to say, what you said, bro, was you would meet with the parents. I don't think that's why a lot of people, not the teachers always try, but I don't think a lot of organizations meet with the parents. Because you like set the standard. Like that's why most of these charter schools do good, because they let their parents know, look here, if y'all don't do this, then your kid can't come. And I know it'd be less kids, but I mean, it's more profitable. It's more profitable because now it's like we trying to work with everybody, and everybody don't want to do good. And now they focus on the ones who don't want to do good. Then focus on the ones like the set. Because I remember back in the day, you might have lost like 3 out of the 10. Now it seems like we losing 7 out of 10, and them 3 still struggling because all the people who don't want to do good get all the attention. But yeah, like Crawford said, man, this is something good because I like a lot of kids need help. It's just a bunch of them now, like the whole school, bro. Like, how you do that?
Is yeah, and especially post COVID, I think that's something that's huge. Is like the recovery from an academic perspective, plus also just I guess you could call it a psychosocial perspective. You know what I'm saying? Is like it's almost like we need community group therapy. You know what I'm saying? Because people are just struggling, and the hard part is, and I think we're all alluding to this, is when the parent is struggling and they don't know how to get help, it makes the student struggle even more because the student is oftentimes looking at the parent and saying, hey, you're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to be the one who's guiding me. And so one thing I could say that might help somebody who's listening is forgive your parents. It's very, very difficult to do. It's easier to say than it is to do. But when you do forgive your parents, it offers you the opportunity to be free to not capitalize on their mistakes. And what do I mean by to not capitalize on their mistakes? Is basically to live those mistakes over, because you are essentially whatever you focus on. And when you focus on your parents' mistakes, you tend to repeat those mistakes instead of focusing on how you can do better than them. You know what I mean? And not do better than them as in like, oh, I'm such a better person than they are, right? It's just realizing that you are kind of the product of some mistakes that they made, but but you don't have to be the final product. You get a chance to work on yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of what I would kind of lay out there.
I think that is the perfect way to end our podcast today. I think that's a perfect way. That is a beautiful, beautiful point that you made there, Festus. I have a joke, but I'm not even going to say it. I'll say it after we're done because it reminded me of like the classic TV shows. But that's really, really good. That's really good. Yeah. So
I said this is where they insert the laugh. You know, that fake audience laugh.
Yeah.
The 90 sitcoms.
Edge of Steps is filmed live for a studio audience. All right, folks. Thank y'all so much for joining us on another episode of Edge of Steps, powered by Laddering Your Success. Thank you. If you are hearing us, be sure to subscribe, to sign up, to get the podcast and everything that comes with it, powered by Laddering Your Success. Be sure to search for us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or wherever you get your social media from. Real quick, wanted to give a quick shout out to A-Leaf Votes. Had a wonderful time yesterday at the workshop over there at the A-Leaf Community Center. That is on and popping at the community center, man. They have folks coming in and out. It's great to see people out there in the community just dabbing into their interests and the things that they love. Great to see the young people out there. But as always, there's plenty of room for so many other youths out there, young people out there. Whatever your passion is, don't stay at home and watch the TV or stay on your phone eating Takis. I'm not going to lie, that new Fuego flavor is Fuego. But what is much more Fuego is delving into your purpose and your passion and creating something at now so it can turn into something beautiful and amazing. We saw some wonderful examples of young people who have started things in high school. Now, I'm not trying to give any major shout outs, but I see some people over there at Elsig High School doing some things, making it pop now, making it pop like over Redenbach out here. They're doing some other things at A-Leaf early. We're A-Leaf now. We're a family now, right? It's a family reunion. So shout out to Hastings and Taylor and Kerr and A-Leaf Early College, A-Leaf Early High School. I'm so sorry. Shout out to all of y'all. Y'all are all doing some amazing things. I'm just partial to Elsik because I'm a Ram for life, E-Dog for life. So, but just keep up the good work, right? Festus.
Yeah, couple more shout outs to City Council member Willie Davis, who was in the house yesterday. I know some representatives from District F, Tiffany Thomas, were in the house. Shout out to them. Shout out to new little organization out of LSIC, Cap the Rate. You know, I think that we got a nice little partnership going. So we're going to get one going. We'll see. But anyway, as we love to say here, listen, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not getting into education. I am Festus and Olay. He is the Dr. to be Jamark Crawford. He is the Himothy Daniel Hill. And then, of course, Mr. Olayenka Sharonke. Listen, you need to hit that share button. And if you're not following us, you need to hit that follow button. I know you're getting some jewels here. Can't nobody say they didn't come and get some sauce from us at Laddering Success. This is Edu Steps, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS podcast.